What's up, guys? I'm here to talk to you today about Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. I keep wanting to say Requiem for a Dream, but we're not going to make that mistake today, baby. Now, I will say, full disclaimer, I'm not a mech fan, right? Not that it's bad, not that I think anything negatively of the genre. It's not me. You know, when I was a kid, you know, I thought it was super dope, but I just kind of grew out of it and thought, nah, this is not really my genre. Plus, I love the idea of, you know, someone just all hands, you know, all me, all day, every day, right? But again, if you're a huge mech fan, dope, right? Do the things you enjoy. Now, that being said, I saw the trailer for this series a while back and I thought, okay, like, I'm very interested, I'm very curious, right? I love 3D animation. I'm willing to give it a chance, so that's what I did. You know, I binged it all in one night, so let's talk about it, guys. First things first, the animation. Now, I thought the animation was actually pretty decent, right? Everything was very detailed. It didn't feel like an empty world, you know, as far as what I was looking at. The character design was pretty impressive. So was, you know, the design of the mobile suits. But overall, my favorite thing was the presentation of the Gundam, right? Again, I'm not a huge mech fan, I'm not a Gundam fan, but I would imagine that the Gundam is more often than not, or, you know, whatever type of Gundam is going on. Again, huge noob there. But they're normally the protagonist, right? You know, shown in this, oh, yo, we're dope, we're cool, I'm the main good guy. Well, the vibe I got was this thing was more of a kaiju than it was a mech, you know, a mobile suit Gundam. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is a monster, right? And they do it a lot with, you know, the shadows and the darkness and the red eyes. And they also just do such a good job of highlighting, like, the physical differences between the Zaku and the Gundam, right? The Gundam's over here. He's flying, dashing, diving, swinging his beam sword and cutting everybody down in place. And the Zakus are like, yeah, I could, like, barely move anything like that, right? I felt like it showed how truly capable the Gundam was as opposed to the Zaku, and I really enjoyed that. Now, in terms of, like, negatives, I would say for me it was definitely, like, the sync between the voice acting and the movement of the lips, right? That can't always be helped, especially, you know, when you're watching the English dub like I was. I know, very, very much, I'm not an elitist, but I do normally watch Japanese dub, but I just wasn't in the mood when I was binging this. I was like, yo, like, let me watch the English dub. But overall, that was, like, the only real negative that I had while watching this, as far as the animation was concerned. Now, as far as the soundtrack is concerned, I feel like the primary highlight in this series was, again, very similar to the animation, was how they presented, you know, encounters with the Gundam, right? It made it feel like it was a kaiju, once again, right? The huge buildup, and then this feeling of, oh, this thing is an absolute monstrosity coming to kill us, right? Other than that, this is me personally, I'm used to, you know, I've played Mass Effect a lot, I've watched, played, read Star Wars. I was expecting a little bit more of a all-encompassing soundtrack that really highlights the mood, and I'm not saying it didn't do that, but you know, that's what I was expecting. Not to say that I was disappointed by the soundtrack, but again, I was expecting something more along the lines of Mass Effect or Star Wars, where you let the soundtrack take over a little bit to highlight the mood. But again, it wasn't a bad soundtrack. I don't feel like they did anything like crazy outstanding besides the presentation of the Gundam, but again, it was definitely passable. Now, as far as the story is concerned, right, we have Captain Solari. She's got her Red Wolves in the Zakus to start. You know, it starts off right, hey, it's war. In the middle of the battlefield, they're dropping off, they're doing their thing, kicking ass, taking names, and it's very much made known, like, yo, we're the badasses here, right? We're driving the giant mobile suits. After the battle, though, you know, they're resting, and all of a sudden, the White Demon, the Gundam, shows up out of nowhere and just starts hammering away, beam cutting everything it sees, destroying all the tanks, all the people. The Red Wolves hop in their Zakus, and man, do they get a 1v5 or 1v6 absolute ass beating the entire time. They're clearly outmatched by this one mech, and I loved it, right? Because normally, again, I'm not a huge mech fan, I'm not a huge Gundam fan, but I would imagine, just like in any anime, we're used to seeing the hero 1v5 people, 1v10 people, 1v50, whatever. But we get to see it on the other side of like, oh, we're the ones getting 1v5'd, 1v50. We're getting our butts kicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what that feels like. And I really enjoyed that. But again, moving on, they get their asses handed to them. Captain Solari and LaShawn are like the only ones left. They put together a ragtag group of people so they could survive. And that's pretty much the story, right? Again, I don't get into the nitty-gritty, but that's essentially the story. They're trying to survive while the Gundam is absolutely relentless, just tailing them everywhere they go, right? They go to like some random village where not much is going on. Bro, Gundam shows up and is like, yeah, I'm gonna wreck your shit today. They go to, you know, this recycling plant for a base, and they put together some Zakus out of scrap metal, and they're like, yeah, bro, we're showing up, and I'm gonna bring a friend too. But again, the entire time, they're just being hounded by the Gundam, and I really enjoyed how, again, it just shows how really menacing it was. Now, as far as character interaction, you know, the story beyond the mechs and the Gundams, the story, I feel like, does a pretty decent job of highlighting war. And I'm not talking action, I'm talking about, hey, like the consequences of war, like the consequences of war on the individual, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? You see a lot of that there. A lot of questions get asked. I think the doctor, and I always forget the pink-haired soldier's name, they're talking about, hey, like, the doctor says, I want to save everybody I can on the battlefield. Versus the soldier's like, well, I'm a soldier, like, I'm going to kill them before they kill me. And that makes perfect sense, right? But it gets you to think about, oh man, war really is like as much as it is terrible, it is a matter of perspective, right? In a sense of, oh, they're bad. Well, what makes them bad? You know? Oh, you're bad. Oh, what makes me bad? You know? Oh, you're gonna kill me, I'm gonna kill you. All that stuff, right? Again, at the end of the day, guys, war is terrible. You know, war is cruel, all that stuff, right? What was it? In Fallout, war never changes. War will always be a terrible thing, right? There's no question about that. And it's even highlighted, you know, as much as it is emotional and physical and all that stuff, right? We see it maybe not most, but we see like one atrocity, right? Being, you know, plot twist, spoiler alert, the Gundam pilot is a child soldier, right? That's why we see some moments of hesitation from the Gundam at certain points, and it just makes you wonder, is like, yo, this killing machine's kind of like not doing certain things that you would expect. But again, child soldier, it makes perfect sense, right? That's why he would hesitate, you know, before doing a certain thing that, you know, most people, at least from a logic standpoint, would just like, hey, like, let's just kill the enemy and get out of here, right? Those are the big questions that I feel like are asked, talked about, and I feel like they did a good job of highlighting those things, you know, before I don't want to get into a huge, you know, rant about it or anything like that. But again, they highlight the consequences of war, the cruelty of war, you know, without, obviously they don't just show, you know, like bodies askew, you know, like people being ripped apart, all that stuff. But it shows like war really isn't something that, it's not a game, right? War is war. Now, that being said, right, if you want more, obviously you got to go watch the show. But in my opinion, if we take into account the beautiful animation, minus, you know, the weird lip syncs aside, decent soundtrack, pretty good overall story, right? Nothing stand out, nothing amazing, incredible, no major plot twists outside of, you know, the child soldier pilot. Overall, guys, I would have to give this, I would say, a solid 7.5 out of 10. If maybe if I understood a little bit more as far as, you know, the backstory of the child soldiers, you know, a little bit more between what's happening between, like, you know, the EFF and the Zionists, or, you know, whatever they're called. I kept forgetting. But if I understood a little bit more of those backstory pieces in the world building, I feel like I'd rate it a little bit higher. I think the action alone for me would probably, like, could possibly, like, put it towards an 8. But again, 7.5 out of 10. Pretty solid. I'm looking forward to if they come out with another season. I'm looking forward to watching it. If not, hey, I would say it was definitely enough to get my foot in the door and make me curious about the mech genre. But again, at the end of the day, guys, we'll see, right? This might have made me a mech fan. It might just make me think, maybe not. But again, 7.5 out of 10. No complaints from me as far as, you know, anything major. There's no outstanding, glaring issues. But again, you know, that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Other than that, guys, like, share, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.